Hello, welcome back to Snugglewood, young Dreamlynx. My name is Arin. Snuggle down into your coziest quilt and let tonight's calming tale and peaceful sounds relieve you of any worries and guide you towards a deep, restful night's sleep under these beautiful stars above. And so our story begins in a place called Dolphin Bay and the sleepy giant tale of Ocean's Playground. Once in the heart of Dolphin Bay, where the waters stretched endlessly to the horizon, the world seemed to breathe differently. The tides spoke in serene whispers, their rhythm as steady as time's own persona. This part of the ocean, often called the playground, was a haven unlike any other. Life thrived here in harmony. Colourful coral gardens danced with the currents. Schools of fish painted patterns in the water, and majestic turtles glided gracefully, untouched by urgency. Above this watery splendour stood a great mountain, the sleepy giant, watching over Dolphin Bay like a silent guardian. It wasn't merely a towering mass of rock. It seemed alive, embedded with stories older than memory. Its colossal form caught the first light of dawn, basking in hues of warm golds and soft oranges, while by night a celestial glow would cloak the peaks under starlit skies. For generations, the people of the nearby village believed the giant slept to protect the bay, its stillness blending seamlessly with the calm of the ocean. Beneath the waves, the ocean's playground buzzed with quiet activity. Tiny creatures wove intricate homes within coral nooks, while larger marine life swayed effortlessly with the current. Every corner of this vibrant underwater landscape seemed to brim with life. At the centre of it all stood a peculiar formation, a massive, ancient stone arch carved naturally by time and tides. It stood tall and proud, as if marking the heart of the playground. The villagers believed it to be a gateway, a passage between the tangible world and the realm of stories, where the sleepy giant's dreams were said to come alive. One still evening, the bay seemed particularly calm. The wind held its breath, and the water gleamed like polished glass, reflecting the last light of the setting sun. The coral beneath swayed effortlessly, as though the depths were lit from within. It was on nights like this that the legend of the sleepy giant felt closest, like a comforting presence that lingered just beyond sight. Deep within the playground, where sunlight barely reached, a tranquil magic stirred. The currents began to align, forming gentle spirals that radiated like waves from the stone arch. Small sea creatures paused, sensing a change in the rhythm of their world. Slowly, the currents carried the story of the bay further, weaving it into everything they touched. The villagers always said that the sleepy giant's tales weren't just told on the surface. They were embedded into the tides, the sand, and the very air they breathed. The next morning came as softly as a sigh. The first beams of sunlight crept over the horizon, kissing the ocean away. The sea sparkled, ushering in another day in Dolphin Bay. Above, the mountain basked in this morning light, its massive form still and grand as always. It looked almost as though it had shifted slightly overnight, its curved silhouette appearing a little softer, gentler, as if it had breathed in harmony with the world around it. Birds wheeled lazily in the sky, their calls echoing softly over the bay. Below them, dolphins leapt in graceful arcs, their movements turning the water into fleeting rainbows. The playground was alive once more in its familiar rhythm. Yet, one couldn't help but feel that the tranquility was punctuated by something deeper, as if every creature and current carried a secret older than the sands. Even the sand seemed to hold the stories of time. The grains sparkled underfoot, warmed by the sun. The villagers, though they carried on with their daily tasks, often found moments to pause and glance toward the sleepy giant. It never stopped inspiring a sense of wonder, even after countless lifetimes lived in its shadow. Many believed that quietly, during their sleep, the mountain granted them peaceful dreams, connecting them to the eternal calm of the ocean. By mid-afternoon, the bay gleamed brightly, the water so clear that you could see the soundless dance of creatures far below the surface. It was said that beneath the stone archway, if one listened closely, they could almost feel the heartbeat of the sea, steady and strong, linking everything together. The playground wasn't just a place, it was a living, breathing testament to the harmony of life, an endless song carried on the currents of time. The day passed gently, as they always did in Dolphin Bay. By dusk, the warm hues of the sunset bathed the ocean and the sleepy giant in soft amber light. The mountains seemed to emit an aura as if soaking up the fading sunlight to dream once more through the coming night. A stillness settled over Dolphin Bay, wrapping the land and sea in a soothing embrace as the world prepared to rest and dream alongside the giant. There was something beautifully endless about the ocean's playground and its guardian. It wasn't only a place of extraordinary natural beauty, but also of infinite calm and connection. Here, the gentle bond between sea and stone reminded all who visited that the stillness of the giant and the whispers of the tides carried the same timeless story. A story without a beginning or end, just a serene rhythm, lulling everything it touched into peace. And so, as Dolphin Bay slipped into the quiet of the night, the stars above began to appear once more, mirrored perfectly in the calm waters below. The sleepy giant stood watch, as always, its silhouette unwavering under the endless sky. It was here, in the heart of the ocean's playground, that dreams found their most peaceful setting, cradled by the eternal harmony between land, sea, and sky. This place, steeped in stillness and wonder, existed as a reminder that nature's most powerful gift is its quiet ability to simply be, a timeless tale carried softly on the ocean's breath. The sleepy giant had witnessed centuries of change, its steady presence unshaken by the passage of time. The wind carried whispers of adventures from long ago, echoed gracefully through the ages, as if the stones beneath the giant still held fragments of those stories. When the first explorers set sail across the ocean's playground, they looked to the giant for guidance. Shipmates, sailors, and wanderers alike found solace in its quiet watch, assured that no matter how wild the waters became, the giant would remain. Generations passed, but the connection to the land and sea never faltered. Coastal villages sprang up, their lives deeply entwined with the rhythm of the waves and the towering figure of the giant in the distance. On calm nights, fires flickered along the shoreline, and stories of the giant drifted up with the smoke, reaching into the star-filled sky. Parents spoke in hushed tones of how the giant came to be, weaving myths of ancient gods, colossal storms, and the unbreakable will of nature. To their little giants, the giant was both a guardian and a friend, a gentle reminder that some forces were permanent, unaffected by the fleeting momentum of human life. At sunrise, the giant seemed alive, bathed in hues of gold and soft amber as the first light stretched across the horizon. Seabirds circled overhead, their cries piercing but never intrusive, as though they understood they were part of something far larger. The water mirrored this golden scene, rippling only slightly as its surface seemed reluctant to disturb such a perfect reflection. The sleepy giant's silhouette became brighter, sharper, claiming its place at the heart of the land's identity. It was a symbol of tranquility and might, standing firmly between earth and infinite sky. The tides around the giant whispered endlessly, a murmured language those who lived nearby swore they could sometimes understand. It wasn't uncommon for the most patient of observers to sit quietly by the shore, believing they could interpret those hushed tones if they listened long enough. Elders, who had spent their entire lives by the shoreline, often spoke of hearing the giant's tale, carried to them in those rhythmic ebbs and flows. Whether truth or folklore, the idea persisted, and those who chose to listen embraced the comfort of companionship in the elements. Travellers who ventured to this idyllic place were often struck by its serenity. The laughter of children playing in the shallows blended seamlessly with the soft shushing of the waves. Artists arrived to capture the hues of the landscape, their strokes an attempt to distill the ocean's majesty and the giant's humbling strength. Poets composed verses about the sea's melody and the sky's open arms, always tying their words back to the giant as an anchor, its presence deeply woven into their work. The giant became muse and home, its silent form speaking volumes to those open to hear its lesson. But most poignant were the still nights, when the wind stilled and even the ocean seemed at rest. The air swelled with calm. Under endless stars, the sleepy giant was veiled in a deep, dusky blue, its outline dim but unmistakable. This was the time for reflection, for breathing in the unhurried beauty of existence. Quiet footsteps on the sand dissolved into nothingness, each step a part of the larger rhythm that echoed in the world. It was during these moments that the giant seemed almost a part of the sky, as though it had risen not from the earth, but had descended, granted to the people as a gift from above. Legends spoke of a phenomenon witnessed only by the lucky, or perhaps by the destined. On the longest night of the year, when the moon hung heavy and full above the playground, a soft glow surrounded the giant. It wasn't the light of the moon nor the reflection of the sea, but something otherworldly. Those who'd seen it claimed the phenomenon was fleeting, a brief reminder that the giant wasn't just a mountain, but something far more ancient. Afterward, witnesses couldn't agree on its meaning, but they often came away changed somehow, their thoughts gentler, their perspective renewed. Over time, many things shifted along the coast. Technology advanced, buildings rose, and once sleepy villages grew more vibrant. Yet, the sleepy giant and its eternal ocean remained untouched, their roles unchanging. They became teachers of patience, symbols of enduring strength in a world that seemed to quicken with every heartbeat. The people still came, though their journeys were easier now. They walked the sandy shores, stood silently at the edge of the water, and looked up at the giant with the same reverence as their ancestors. It was a place where time slowed, or perhaps stopped entirely, a reminder to live softly, fully, and with gratitude. Through the years, the giant bore witness to countless stories, some written on its stones, others carried on the tide. It stood through storms that tested the sky's fury and the ocean's ferocity, yet it never yielded. The ocean would rise, crashing against its base, only to recede again. A quiet bow to a partner that would always remain. The giant's strength wasn't just in its size, but in its quiet endurance, its presence a steady rhythm amid the unpredictable melody of nature. And so, the ocean's playground remained what it always had been, a sanctuary for those seeking peace, a canvas painted by nature's most skilled hand, and above all, home to the sleepy giant. The stories it cradled, though many and varied, were all connected by the same thread of timeless wonder. To visit this place was to step into something beyond the ordinary, a realm where land, sea, and sky met in perfect harmony, presided over by the silent, steadfast guardian who kept watch over it all. The sleepy giant wasn't just a part of the landscape. It was the heart of it. A reminder of what it means to simply exist within the boundless beauty of the world. The sleepy giant had always been a silent witness to the stories of those who visited this magical place. Its proximity to the vast, swishing ocean brought a sense of tranquility, even as the waters danced with life. To walk along the shores here was to feel history underfoot. Each grain of sand a fragment of stories untold, smoothed by the ebb and flow of countless tides. The waves had a language all their own, whispering secrets to those who would stop long enough to listen. Villagers in the surrounding coastal towns spoke of the sleepy giant with reverence. For generations, they shared tales of its power, its stillness, and its mysterious ways of reminding them to pause and reflect. It was said that if you sat upon the giant's base at sunrise, looking out over the ocean's vast expanse, you would feel a connection to something greater, something eternal. Whether that was the spirit of the giant or the wisdom of the earth was anyone's guess. But the feeling was profound, an intimacy with the natural world that many travellers spoke of long after they left. Children loved to wander here, their eyes wide with wonder as they imagined the giant waking from its long slumber or bending down to scoop up the ocean into its palm. The sleepy giant keeps the ocean calm, they would say, repeating the words of their elders. If the giant were to stir, the waves would rage, and the peace of our shores would be broken. Perhaps it was these legends that kept the little giants so respectful of the giant's domain. They played and explored, but never upset the balance of this serene place. It seemed as though even the youngest visitors understood that here they were guests in the giant's playground. The creatures of the ocean, too, seemed to pay homage to the giant. Dolphins often leapt joyfully near its shadow. The seabirds circled its crest before heading out to sea. Shipmates would swear that the giant watched over them, ensuring beautiful waters and safe journeys. They believed that the gentle slope of the giant's figure acted as a beacon of safety in the otherwise wandering landscape of the sea. No matter how far they ventured, the sight of the sleepy giant in the distance brought a reassurance that they were never too far from home. What made this place truly special, though, was the way it allowed time to stretch and twist. Visitors often remarked on how an hour here felt like a day or more. The moments spent beneath the gaze of the sleepy giant seemed to slow to an almost meditative rhythm, reminding everyone to breathe deeper, to linger longer, to observe the tiny details more carefully. The shadows cast by the sun as its rays danced across the ocean surface seemed to move no faster than the tide. Whether he was strolling the shoreline or simply sitting on a rock, time felt infinite, as though it spiraled outward to meet the eternity the giant embodied. For artists and writers, the sleepy giant was an unparalleled muse. Poets would settle into the soft mossy beds around its base, transforming its quiet strength into carefully penned verses. Painters sought to capture the interplay of colours that shifted over the horizon, fiery reds and oranges in the evening, muted pastels in the morning, and the deepest of blues at the height of midday. For storytellers, there was no shortage of inspiration. The giant provided them with mysteries and metaphors, as vast as the waves themselves. Someone said the sleepy giant's magic extended beyond what the eye could see. Dreamers who slept at its base spoke of vivid visions, a glorious realm where the stars dipped into the ocean, and the wind carried laughter from unseen friends. Some believed the giant was a portal to another world, one where the boundaries between sky, sea, and earth dissolved into pure wonder. Not all its stories were joyous, though. On stormy nights, the giant seemed more solemn. Its silhouette, a dark and brooding figure against the flashing sky. Sailors spoke of hearing its low, mournful song in the howling winds, an ancient lament that seemed to carry the weight of the sea. These were reminders of the ocean's dual nature, both tranquil and tempestuous. Yet even in its sombre moments, the sleepy giant stood firm, an unyielding presence that offered solace amidst chaos. Over time, the sleepy giant became a symbol, not just for this place, but for all who encountered it. It reminded people of the importance of stillness. In a world that often demanded constant motion, it reflected back the rhythms of the ocean, where every wave receded with a promise to return. And it taught those who paid quiet attention that there was beauty in simply existing, without the need for explanation or purpose. Travellers often left offerings at its base. Smooth shells, small carvings, or intricate weavings of seagrass were left as tokens of gratitude for the peace they had found there. Most visitors would sit a while after leaving their gifts, taking in one last gaze at the horizon. Though the world beyond the sleepy giant seemed uncertain, they left with hearts full and spirits renewed. To this day, the sleepy giant remains a place of wonder. Whether you come to lose yourself in its beauty, to seek answers only the ocean can provide, or simply to sit in the company of something timeless, you will leave forever changed. For the sleepy giant doesn't just watch over its land and sea. It welcomes each soul with a quiet understanding, a reminder of life's raw and simple beauty that lingers, like the gentle hum of the ocean, long after you've gone.